Good evening, Palm Bay. Welcome to Palm Bay Live. Welcome to the second hour of interviews tonight. I have with me in the studio Tatiana Rosado, and she is running for the mayor of Palm Bay. And I want you to do me a favor, please. This is our first time um, being introduced to her. For me personally, I don't know Tatiana, and I usually know a lot of folks in the city of Palm Bay. So we're gonna learn about her together tonight. So let's give her a warm welcome, and let's do that by hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and share button. Let's share to the different platforms, to your personal page, to others, etc. Let's learn about her candidacy and what she's about, and etc. So please do me a favor. Let's increase the count tonight. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button. If you're on YouTube, do the same thing there as well. Let's bring on Tatiana on center stage. Welcome to the platform.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Kevin, for having me tonight. So, looking
Very
forward to the many questions and the opportunity to present myself and what I hope to do here in Palm Bay.
okay, beautiful. And as I stated, I don't know you, Tatiana. This is my first time meeting you. And like I told the public, I generally sometimes know a lot of folks in the area that is running for politics for the different many positions. So this is my first time meeting you. So I'm going to give you the opportunity for 2 minutes. And thank you, Palm Bay. I see that count going up. Now hit that like button for me. Um, Go ahead and introduce yourself for a couple of minutes here. Go and introduce yourself to the public, who you are, what you're about, and why you're entering the arena in Palm Bay.
So, my name is Tatiana Rosado. So, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have lived in Palm Bay since I was nearly 3 years old. My parents relocated us here from New York, from Puerto Rico. Basically, Palm Bay has been my community. I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, and I completed an associate's right here at Brevard Community College. Um, I have been a part of various organizations like the League of Women Voters. I was their vice president, engaged in voter services. I've been a part of many organizations, always kind of staying to the background. But I've noticed, there hasn't been a lot of significant change in Palm Bay. And I feel like with my experience, my education, and the fact that I've been able to engage with locals, I can provide that same opportunity and growth and change for Palm Bay. I actually completed my education, like I said, out of BCC. I got my associates right here in Palm Bay. Turned around and went to UCF to get a bachelor's degree in interpersonal organizational communication. And then I went on to get 2 masters. One's in business administration. The other one is in IT and in management. So a little bit about myself. I have worked in aerospace and defense contracting for nearly 10 years. I'm sorry. And I have thoughtfully engaged in creating long-term contracts, engaging a new business. And I feel like that's an opportunity that Palm Bay can potentially have when reviewing a lot of the oversight issues contractually, as well as bringing in new business and opportunities, workforce jobs, and potentially bringing in, just a lot of overall change. And I feel like I can supplement that for the community. So, yeah.
Great, great. Thank you. And I see your platform. You would like to focus on infrastructure, road maintenance, and safety and
Absolutely.
prevention issues. And so our questions tonight would be along those lines. A
Okay.
lot of questions. If you've been watching my interviews, you see how they go. And
Yes.
so you know where my heart is and
Mhm.
where I want to see many of our candidates focus their attention to. I'm going to open up with one question and from the audience. So they're coming in quickly. Are you physically conservative?
Am I physically conservative? I would say I would take that into consideration, especially with this new proposal that's being brought forth when it comes to the raising of taxes to support, the police officers and the fire stations being built. I think it's important that we look for other opportunities before we exhaust those financial increases, just because a good number of Palm Bay residents have limited income and or they are retired individuals, so they have to take those decisions into great stride. I know myself personally, even though I've accomplished a lot, I know if this I have struggled financially. So making sure that we're making objective choices when it comes to financial decision making in the city, I think that'll play a big role in how I make decisions in the area.
All right, we jump right into the 2 mil question. All right, all right. So we're there already. All right, so since we're there, let's just continue down that road. So we know with the response time, the that we have to deal with right now, police, fire. Um, you know where I'm going with this.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
the response time is not good,
It
and
is.
so we have to make sure that we meet the needs of the community by it's a balancing act.
Mhm.
How do you play catch up with a situation that seemed to go on awry? And that being the infrastructure, we have grown so much
Right.
expeditiously across the spectrum. We have grown. We're bursting at the seam. And so, how do we balance this? So, I think I'm hearing an answer from you already based on what you answered earlier, but this proposal that would need to go to the public in November, if passed on the dais in the near future, and if it's approved and it goes to the voters, is this something you're in favor of?
Personally, I would rather us exhaust other opportunities. I think we've made so many strides to grow so quickly,
Hmm.
and we haven't really evaluated other options. I think it's a I think if it goes to the voters, the voters have to take into consideration, their own financial growth opportunities. There's many people who live in Palm Bay who own multiple residencies, and you're talking about for a $200,000 home, you're going to pay an additional 400. Well, if we look at the numbers in Palm Bay, a majority of people typically sit around the 349 area. So you're talking about a $600 increase to your annual uh, billing. Not everyone has that. I mean, I've been very privileged because I've obviously worked really hard to get where I am, but I also have to think about the community and how much we put forth the effort there. Additionally, it's I do believe we do need to seek every opportunity to increase the amount of safety opportunities here. So we struggle a lot with the fact that we're constantly behind the ball when it comes to addressing these problems. We build before we actually have followed the blueprint, identifying the fact that we have growth, but we haven't facilitated bigger changes like roadway work and firefighters and police stations. These type of opportunities have to be addressed early and upfront. So I'd like us to try to seek out other options before, bypassing a decision that was made back in 2016 to put a 3% cap on increases in the local area. So if the voters ultimately decide, I will support them, but I think we have to first consider, the factors that go into play financially. There's so many other options and opportunities that the city has to take in and regulate and change its choices when it comes to financial change. So I think that's a big one, is evaluating where these financial opportunities can come from internally before forcing the taxpayers to pay more.
Okay, great answer. Thank you for the answer. So let's get back to a regular line of questions. And we nailed the hard one because that one
Hey,
we went last night. I had an interview with Deputy Mayor Felix, and I don't know if you saw that interview, but that covered a lot of our hour.
I think it's a big topic, and I think it's going to continue to be brought up. Yeah,
It's going to be brought up until we make a decision.
yeah.
The members of the diocese make a decision. And let's see. Well, again, thank you for introducing yourself and thanks for answering that very broad question. In reviewing your candidacy, your platform, you've mentioned a focus on sustainable development and infrastructure improvements. Can you give us some more specific examples of what you plan to do to improve Palm Bay's city's infrastructure?
So I think we have to first, put a pause on a lot of the development that's happening, just because they're not doing so in a sustainable way. We'd have to approach these builders to ensure that we're putting in the clauses that we're going more sustainable, like we're using more facilitated options that help with drainage, with help with the use of the conservative land. That kind of thing has to be taken into consideration. We also need to look at other options for, if these facilities and these organizations want to build here, putting in there that they also help with the assistance of expansion of the roadways. These are opportunities to not only collaborate with them, but also improve, again, our local area. I think one of the issues that I see ongoing right now is obviously the flooding of the roadways, the fact that a lot of our infrastructures that are older homes, they're suffering a great deal because of, the waterway is not being clear enough within their homes. My parents have had struggles with this for years, us just trenching in front of the house to try to subdue some of the waterway issues. And it's things like that where you make long-term changes within the community that help improve, everyone's living. So it's just doing so in a respectful way, a sustainable way. Because trenching is not always the option. If people are aware of, digging that particular area, it doesn't actually roll the water out. It helps with residual water sitting. So having, I'm going to butcher this word. It starts with it's shoe. I'm going to not say it, but essentially it's almost like a canister that's built under the roadways to help with the flow of water going out to the, the Indian River. And so we have to be respectful for things that bring people to the area, like the Indian River. And again, all of these these are all the options that are capable. We're all capable of fulfilling these options, but we have to make sure that we're doing so. We're looking into budgets, we're looking into opportunities and collaboration, because you'd be surprised how many organizations are willing to provide us the same opportunities to improve if you simply ask, or even you put that into, upcoming decision making. So.
Okay, thank you. And Catherine Mendoza, I think she answered your question. Since when raining often, what will you do about the drainage and gutters? And I think she mentioned that in her answer. And so hopefully she did. If she didn't, let me know. You can drop a line in the comments and I'll watch out for that. Audience, we're growing. And I appreciate that. But now I need you to smack that like button for me. Let's increase the live count. Smack the like button and share it across the different audience on your personal page, etc. Let's get the word out about this Tatiana's candidacy, and we will hopefully help get our message out tonight. All right, let's keep it going. And so we talk about the increasing growth of Palm Bay. We talked about how so let's talk about the management of our population side, the growth, how we are going to be able to keep pace with the infrastructure. Are you planning to probably issue or ask about doing a moratorium in any aspect in order to be able to make sure that we are okay with a road network, etc.? Because as I mentioned in my earlier interview today, you go on the road early in the morning, you can't hardly move.
Right.
So what are your plans on? What is your take on that?
So actually, I was invited yesterday to the advisory board in regards to the roadways. And we discussed, the fact that we're over budget almost $60 million. I think for things like that, that's an oversight on, our part for reviewing contractual agreements, for understanding how the proposal process works. I think there's a lot of things that can be addressed on a basic level that could potentially improve roadway issues. I think the fact that they've slowly started making the changes, we're obviously looking at only only up until stage 4. Stage 5 hasn't been completed. That's also something that is still on the back burner, and that's typically the smaller local areas that need to be addressed, and fixing their roadways. I think it's important that, these committees like the advisory board are sitting there to allow community members and people within Palm Bay to voice their concerns about, the length of time that it's taking to address everything from potholes to erosion on the roadway. How do we reduce risk when it comes to trucks? So I think it really comes down to bringing in the right voices, the right individuals who can not only train the people who are sitting on the council, but as well as our city staff and the community. So by knowing and understanding that information, we can make better decisions long term when it comes to our roadways. Because I personally do not like sitting in 30-minute traffic when it simply takes 10 to 15 minutes to get down Malabar Road.
Yeah, I moved here in 2009, and I live in the Bayside area, and usually it took me about 2 minutes to go to Bay to the Bayside Publix. Now it takes me about 10, and
Right.
and it's like, whoa, what happened? So yeah, we have grown, and I mean the growth is good. The growth is good, and I appreciate the growth. It's just that now we need to manage the growth. All
Right.
right, so um, let's continue. I want to ask you. Let me think about that question before I ask it to you.
Okay.
All right. There has been significant discussion about the impact fees, and so let's talk about the impact fees for a second here. Um, do we need them? We have them, and can you tell us about your stance on this, or if you have any plans to ensure that these developers actually pay their fees, and where are where's your stance on impact fees? Let me
So
ask you that.
I think we can easily say how quickly these developers have wanted to come here. We can see the interests that they have in Palm Bay, the opportunity that they have in Palm Bay.
Mhm.
So by raising the impact fee from the 10% to potentially 12%, that'll help increase the number for us to use those opportunities to, again, facilitate the development of these safety facilities, like for the police station, the fire station. These impact fees can also be used toward our recreational locations. I know plenty of people have been discussing the idea of having pickleball courts. So I don't see us doing away with impact fees when it comes to new developers. When it comes to our overall impact fees that we've been discussing, when it comes to the current tax opportunity that they're looking at, I would hate to see it raised for just the standard individual who has a limited income, has a very fixed income. And so those are the areas I would prefer to avoid changing. I think we strictly need to look at these developers who see the opportunity here. And I don't necessarily think that building more homes is going to be the solution for Palm Bay. I think the long-term solution is to bring business to Palm Bay. I think creating long-lasting job opportunities here is really what Palm Bay has. That's its initial primary intention. I think it just needs a new voice to draw those organizations, those businesses in. Working in aerospace and defense, this is the area that most organizations want to come to long term. And I don't see that changing. So if we can capitalize on that opportunity and provide jobs for locals to increase their income, I think that's exactly what Palm Bay needs going forward.
Okay, Mr. Rosado, have you served on any of the boards in Palm Bay?
I've just assisted on advisory boards. I've never been on a board formally. So yes.
Okay, Ms. Karen asked, how do you feel about citizen advisory boards and the one that was removed? I think, go ahead.
So I personally think citizen advisory boards are wonderful. I think it's important for the citizens to be able to speak and have that opportunity. One of the initiatives I'd like to do is to have the citizen boards come out and provide 10 minutes, potentially providing two per group, to give an update of what they've been coming across, what they've been noticing. Because what that also does is inform the city council, the members that are in the audience, as well as those who are actually logged in online watching the actual Thursday meetings. So I think that's imperative, is having constant overview. And, I've seen organizations and communities change just because citizens have the opportunity to be heard. So.
Okay. And Dale, you beat me to the gun, sir. You're asking a question that's my pet peeve question. So, Miss Tatiana, you need to win me over tonight and the rest of the audience.
I'm a big fan of developing a downtown Palm Bay. I think this was something I discussed even when I was in high school. I think that is imperative to draw in visitors, draw in businesses, and have a location where people can commune. I think we look at areas like Vieira, we look at areas like downtown Melbourne, and those are various businesses, various opportunities to have different events, usually a safe location. Now, do I know the exact location of where we should put that? No, but I have spoke to Dale, and I believe he said that Babcock has a really great area that we could potentially put it in. I think finding a centralized location that's safe, potentially even bringing in organizations that do, food halls. Yeah, I see Palm Bay as being a big opportunity because there's so many people here. We need to find a place where we can organize, where we can enjoy and impart, just various business opportunities.
Okay, good answer. Let's go continue with the audience questions. Here for a second. Another one from Miss Karen. Do you believe the city charter and comp plan is being followed currently?
I would say partially. I have seen certain portions of that plan being followed. I have seen certain individuals step up and ensure that's being passed. And that's actually one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor, because I don't feel like the current incumbent is actually facilitating just that. So that's my thoughts on that.
So let's talk about your candidacy for a second because you're very new to me. I really don't know much about you, and I do follow city politics a lot, as many know in the arena that deals with me. So, how are you getting your name out?
I'm actually canvassing actually nearly daily. We were just out this evening knocking on doors, getting out to the community, which I feel like that's a really great opportunity for people to meet me directly one-on-one. Usually during those opportunities, they express concerns, they express issues. And for me, I jot them all down. Like I have a list of things that I plan on addressing the moment I step into this position. I think, sometimes we forget that not everyone can attend major events, which like the city puts on. A number of our residents aren't physically able to leave their homes, or they don't have the financial means to leave their homes. So this is a way for me to get to them and impart those change and those opportunities. Additionally, I've been speaking at various events within the community, and as well as the Independence Day celebration. I was out there tabling with several other individuals that I feel would be a wonderful fit for the city. But yeah, that's how I'm getting my name out. Again, just organizing. I have a great team behind me, really supportive people, and just one door at a time.
Okay. So I think the last check, when I check your campaign finance, you currently have about $2,400 in your pocket. Is that right?
That's
Okay.
right.
All right, great.
A little bit more than that now, but I'm gracious that
Right.
people have been donating
At
lately.
the end
Yes.
of the interview tonight, you will have a couple of minutes to inform the voters how they can support you.
Okay.
There's a question from Mr. Anderson. With all the new house development, how do you feel it would how would it feel it would impact the RL? How will it impact the RL? I think that's what he's asking in the real
In real life, in real life is
life.
what
Oh,
IRL means.
okay.
With so much housing development, it's going to affect things like our roadway. It's going to affect, where these family homes, because we have to remember these are family homes with children who are going to be attending school. We're going to have to think about how we're going to bus them to their local elementary and middle school. So all of those things will affect long-term issues. So our roadways would get more congested. It will affect, where these people shop and the missed opportunity of them shopping primarily in Palm Bay versus driving all the way to Melbourne. This will affect where they choose to work. versus working directly in Palm Bay, they'll have to likely commute. So it's just trying to ensure that as we are developing, we're doing so in, again, a sustainable fashion that is not only inclusive, but also pulls those opportunity dollars back into Palm Bay. Bringing in businesses locally, bringing in more Brevard schools. That just invites more people to live here. But I also want to, again, provide more opportunities by bringing in business, because we do see long-term, we do see potential issues if we just continue to grow homes and we don't grow roadways, we don't grow safety, we don't grow businesses.
Okay. All right. Um, Residents have repeatedly raised questions, and we talked about this about the water quality in our last interview, especially near Turkey Creek. How do you plan to address water quality in our area?
So that's a challenging issue, only because, again, with all the new residencies that have come in, all of the older properties, their filtration systems may not be up to date. Their waterway, our waterways aren't necessarily the cleanest. So I think addressing that on various terms, so addressing it from older homes and seeing how quickly we can get them online to using the new waterway system, which will be very expensive for majority of the residents in Palm Bay. Thankfully, there are some funding opportunities and some potential loan opportunities if people are looking to try to address that quicker and sooner. But it's in order to ensure that we're clearing our waterways, we're ensuring that people are having clean water. We have to also address the concern of how much of that water is coming from our lagoons as well into our Turkey Creek area. Are we properly sanitizing? Are we using a lot of our invested groups like our Marine Resource Group who have provided a significant amount of information on how to fix and repair the water issues? Again, putting in policies, especially for newer developments, that they will do so and protect our waterways will help us alleviate a lot of ongoing issues going forward. But I do believe there are a few individuals who would be a wonderful fit to review this. I have a good friend, Maureen Rupp, who works with the League of Women Voters along with the Marine Resource Group, who gave me quite a few tips and information on how we can just do right by our community. So.
Okay, let's take another audience question. If you became mayor, are you willing to get a financial audit to see where money is being wasted so it can be better allocated?
I mean, that's a lovely question. I absolutely believe that's what I need to do going in. I do that internally within my own workplace, is auditing to ensure we're not spending anything that isn't necessary for the community, that no additional problems are happening, and you need consistent oversight. And I think it's important to do that the moment you walk in the door.
Okay, let's get back to my line of questioning. The compound is being discussed every time I interview somebody. I have to bring it up because it's a sticky issue.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the compound? You've heard my questions before. You watch my interviews. What are your thoughts on the compound? How or would you manage that situation in the way it is right now?
So if we don't micromanage this now, it's going to continue to be the same ongoing problem. We've seen the safety issues when it comes to the discovery of things that shouldn't be out there, the abandoning of animals, the disposal of people's personal belongings have been out there. I think the best way to start addressing that is to start, a community watch, as well as potentially having police security out there. I do know that they're considering putting some cameras into the location, but that hasn't been definitized yet. I think it's also important that we start to consider options for how we can use that space. So when you have empty space and nothing to use it for, people typically don't use it for its most effective use. That land out there could potentially be, major manufacturing opportunities. We've seen everything from suggestions to, a dirt bike park. any way to start using the location for an opportunity for businesses, for workplace jobs, I think that's going to be the best way to solve that problem. I think by having more eyes and more ears out there is going to start resolving the quick turnaround problems. But long term, we need to consider using that space for, um, more opportunities. One of the things I really admire about our city council, a few of them have mentioned, they see the potential of turning this into a modern day Silicon Valley, which I believe Palm Bay has the space and the opportunity to take that into consideration.
I believe it can be done with a good team. I think we can pull that. Something we can pull off. That space is huge. We can do a lot out there.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I
the
don't. The sky's the limit at this point in time.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, I imagine you would take in community involvement as far as getting their perspectives on what can be done
Mhm.
out there as well. Um, Here's a question for you. Dale, you're kind of late to the game. We already posed a question about the 2 mil. How will your life experience influence your future work as mayor?
So my personal life experiences, I have worked in aerospace and defense, like I said earlier, primarily working in everything from the inception of an idea to its completion, everything from procurement to program planning to program development, program management. All of those typically play an influence on how I see we use Palm Bay to grow. I think the opportunity to work as a future mayor would only just continue to impact my life and as well as those around me. I can say my personal influences have been some of the individuals that serve on the council at the current moment, as well as people within the community that I look to, like I was mentioning, Maureen Rupp, Suzanne Taylor, who is the president of the League of Women Voters, and a number of other individuals, especially women in the community, who have created long-lasting change and ultimately want the best for Brevard County. So.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that answer. Let's take a 1 minute commercial break. We haven't done that in our future our earlier programs. So let's go ahead and take a break really fast. And when we come back, we will take some more questions from the audience, and you will have an option to call in and voice your support or ask questions of the candidate. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We're back. Thank you for uh, staying with us and continue to stay with us. And now we're going to continue the line of questionings. So let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. Let's talk about your vision. What is your vision for Palm Bay? Where do you see Palm Bay going?
I just see so much potential in Palm Bay. I see us really capitalizing on growth opportunities. I see us being a business hub. I see a lot more community involvement. I grew up here, so you know, to see Palm Bay change is a nice opportunity. But I'd like to see it live out to its fullest potential. I just feel like it's kind of it's placed itself in a place where it doesn't feel like it can grow in other areas. I think we've just focused primarily on homes, on building on homes, and again, we have so much land mass in comparison to the rest of Brevard County that we could literally be a centerfold for a majority of the growth here.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Um, the health of the Indian River Lagoon is a major concern for most residents. What steps will you take to protect and restore this vital ecosystem? Uh, what would you do as a mayor to ensure that Palm Bay plays its part in making sure the RL remains uh, pleasant for everybody to go to?
Um, So I think I addressed this a little earlier about putting in certain expectations when it comes to developing.
Mhm.
But I'd like to see Palm Bay play a bigger part in community involvement. I think we assume that it just becomes someone else's job, someone else's responsibility. But I think one of the things that we forget to do is also include and remind our locals, like, these are opportunities for you to play a big role in change. I know for myself, when people ask me why I chose to do this, is because I see so much more opportunity. I see community involvement. And I feel like that makes long lasting change. So I think even inviting locals to come out to a lot of these individual trainings that they have at the Marine Resource Group, as well as organizations like Little Growers who want to facilitate change, bringing these organizations together to help us um, fix and correct the problem is how we address the problem in the Indian River. I also think that Palm Bay needs to collaborate with the other cities along the Indian River Lagoon, because if we look at the trends in northern Brevard, we see that the pollution's gotten significantly worse. When the waterways get heavy with all the rainfall, we're opening up that line and releasing those waters into the lagoon, and those aren't cleared out properly. They're not filtered for the community, and that just adds risk to us long term. I would hate for us to lose, more wildlife that exists in the area.
Thank you for your answer. Let's ask a studio question, audience question rather. What roadblocks do you foresee in the near future, if elected as a mayor, that would prevent you and your team from executing your vision?
I think the biggest roadblocks I would see would potentially be um, not having enough individuals with an open mind, not having enough support from the community. I think overall, a majority of the locals want to see long lasting change. I think one of the an initial issues is obviously coming into a new staffing group. They may not know where I stand. They want to get to know you. So I think the initial hesitation would potentially be internally. One thing I know about that is I feel quite comfortable walking into a room and not afraid to trip or make a mistake, but owning up to it and listening to the expertise to ensure that we're including that in the overall change. So yeah.
Okay. Tatiana, you're my first mayoral candidate that I interview. So I'm going to ask you some different questions. I'm going to go off script here for a second. I have some prepared questions, but permit me to go off script. How will you work with the Palm Bay Chamber of Commerce to ensure that we grow Palm Bay in a sustainable way? Um, New business, etc. Go ahead.
So again, if we consider building facilities like a downtown, that gives us the opportunity of inviting new business. I think it's important that we're consistently partnering with the Chamber of Commerce so that we can collaborate. I think sometimes we assume that City Council and Chamber of Commerce have to be completely separate, but for long lasting change, a lot of collaboration has to take place. I think when people typically join the chamber, this is an opportunity for them to get to know each other, get to know other organizations, and invite companies to come in. But I also think that the city council has to also play a role in that, with more collaboration, more opportunities, and again, finding locations in which these new businesses can develop, partnering with them to, uh, set up locations in Palm Bay, even to consider, the compound, collaborating with them, those entities to have, outdoor malls that bring in smaller businesses, food halls that some of the local restaurants might consider investing in. So it's just things like that that I can see those being the best way of collaborating with the Chamber of Commerce.
So let's talk about Melbourne, or a city across the way.
Mm.
They've been growing, and they've been growing tremendously. They've been getting a lot of new businesses. I think the Margaritaville is planned, a lagoon is planned, a lot of different attractions is coming their way. So what steps will you do? I mean, I hear where your vision is. What steps will you do to help us ensure that we keep pace with them?
So I think it's again working with the Chamber of Commerce because they may have opportunities that we might be overlooking. I think we also have to look into major organizations, like they might be building a Margaritaville, but who's to say we don't want a cheesecake factory? These are the type of things that we should also be seeking out, these organizations to come to Palm Bay. And we also should review how Melbourne is drawing these organizations in, and try to apply the same tactic. We have to be a little more aggressive in how we make change. And I think having a good foot forward, and being able to not be afraid of being rejected. You have to go out and seek opportunity. It may not always pan out the first time, but certainly the second or third time will bring in much more collaborative efforts to, again, build business here.
Yeah, and every time I look up, there's something happening in Melbourne, but nothing is moving the
Mhm.
needle in Palm Bay. But yet, our population size is overwhelming.
Mhm.
We are, I think, when I checked the numbers last week, we are about 140,000 residents in Palm Bay, and we're bursting at the seams, while Melbourne is still way below us.
Right.
But yet, their entertainment district is there. Their
Mhm.
nightlife is there. There, places to go, things to do is there. As far as the restaurants, we go there and we shop there, uh,
Mhm.
and we eat there, and so those are
Those are
the
missed opportunities that people can shop, buy, and live in their area versus just living here and spending their dollars elsewhere.
yeah,
By having those organizations, those businesses, we end up lowering our millage taxes. So it's just things like that where if you want to see improvement, let's bring it here.
right. And you're saying that you're going to be an active mayor that's going to go out there and pounce in order to get these folks to
I'm
come to.
not afraid of taking a no. I'm afraid of not trying.
Got you. Got you. All right, folks, you're hearing from her. All right, let's take another question. How will you entice businesses to come to Palm Bay? Well, we just asked that, while maintaining realistic impact fees. Well, you can answer the second half of the question.
So I think, again, our impact fees are about 10%. I think increasing it to potentially 12%, which for most organizations isn't that high, especially for larger businesses. But also you could put in your stance that if it's a small business, a women-owned business, a minority-owned business, where they could potentially pay a margin less to establish their business. And again, that draws in diversity, that drives in business. I think it's important that you not eliminate impact fees, because again, that helps facilitate and help grow Palm Bay. But I do think uh, there can be various caps based on the organization and how they title themselves. So.
Okay, great. Cynthia, I think she already answered the questions about how she's going to invite companies to come to Palm Bay. Dale, you have a question about, in building a community in Palm Bay, how would you best utilize CDBG dollars, Community Development Black Grants, he's talking about.
So what did you say? I'm sorry. You said something at the end.
He's talking about the Community Development Block Grants.
So, I mean, first and foremost, we want to look at what we have budgeted for community dollars.
Mhm.
I think that's initially the first thing to review, and then also deciding as a community what's going to be the best thing to develop locally. I think again, looking at areas like a downtown, I feel like that would be a big sign off from the community, and applying those grant opportunities to those developments. Um, I'm pretty sure I covered most of that question. I don't know what else he might have wanted to hear, but
I think you did. I think you
okay.
did. Let's see. There's another. How do you feel deal with fellow council members who don't agree with you? Should you become mayor?
I mean, I think there's always going to be disagreements in every organization, you know. Personally, if you're asking how I would deal if someone wouldn't have a good response to me, I think it's important to address everyone with courtesy, be respectful. But more importantly, I, there is 5 votes if we have a full seat on the council, which means you need to have a quorum of people voting. Right now, we are down to 3 individuals, and those 3 individuals ultimately make the long-term decision. So I think understanding where each person sits on various issues and understanding what it's going to take to facilitate change. It may be me having conversations like this is a risk that we put our, you know, our voters in. This is a risk that we put our tax holders in if we make these type of agendas. I'm not afraid of saying no to individuals. I'm not afraid to voicing my concern or being the opposite of my counsel, because I do feel like I'm representing Palm Bay, and I want to do so as fairly as possible.
Okay. You've been following the management of Palm Bay. I'm pretty sure you have, because you enter in politics. So you if you here's a question that a new question I'm posing to all my candidates that
Mhm.
I'm interviewing. If you were to grade the city manager right now, what grade would you give her?
I think she's doing a fair job, especially with the limitations that Palm Bay currently has. I'd probably give her about a 7.5, 8. She's certainly brought a lot of good opportunities to the area. Um, but again, everyone has the opportunity to grow and improve. And I think it's important that she has a mayor that will work with her, that will provide good feedback, and again, having a good council and oversight committee, you can impart big change, and that's just I think she's doing a fine job.
Okay. Community, don't forget you have another option to call in, either voice your support for her or ask a question. You can call in by using that number 321-999-4559. All right. And she's answering a lot of questions. We're getting through a lot of questions tonight. A lot to Tatiana.
I'm excited. I'm glad so many people want to ask.
Yeah, we're getting through a lot compared to my other interviews, and that's really good. Let's see. How do you did I ask this already? I think I did. Yes, we already asked that. And then she did a follow-up. I'm asking if they disagree with your vision for the city. I guess based on your answer that she did a follow-up question on that. So if they disagree with your vision for the city, how would you confront that? What would you do?
I mean, I think there are certain individuals on the council that have the same vision. But again, if you want people to go with change, you have to invite them to understand what it's going to take to make that opportunity happen. Um, I think a number of the people currently seated and the people running obviously have various and similar visions for what they feel will be the right fit. But to ensure that we're growing in a way that's effective, I have to ensure that my voice is heard. I'm coming from a place of experience, I'm coming from a place of knowledge, and someone who consistently and constantly does research. I think I was up until 3 in the morning yesterday, just reading up on various articles just in preparation for this. So it's that's just how I plan on creating long lasting change within the council. It's finding ways of communicating important topics and uh, convincing them to agree. I think that's the best way to say it. Is um, I
Uh,
think people are hesitant of change, but if you know how to voice it and you know how to initiate it, I think anything's possible.
okay. Do you think the city is doing enough to address flooding? That's a good question, and
Oh,
that's one I didn't put on the line of questioning. So, Catherine, thanks for that question because we have had flooding issues as recently as last year. We had several flooding issues throughout the city. So, do you think they're doing enough?
Um, so this is a really, I can actually go back to my own personal experience. My parents just lost their homeowners insurance. It's going to be canceling out at the end of the year simply because of the changes to flood insurance. She is located at a just short of Emerson and Malabar. And they had declared that since it was in within a 5 mile radius of the waterway, that they could no longer cover her. I don't think the city is doing enough to address these type of situations because, again, a majority of their residents are going to be losing insurance opportunities. I think there's a lot of opportunities, like I said, not just trenching, which is a quick solution, finding long-term solutions to find ways of removing the water from the local area. I think that would probably be the best solution is to find long-term solutions versus quick ones.
Okay, great. Let's see. Let's take another one. What type of
Companies?
companies Mayor Alfred Fine envision Melbourne as a new Key West and Fine pushing for casinos? Brevard County has always been an education, military, aerospace, and family-based community. What is your take? Tourist trap or education, aerospace, and technology?
I mean, I'm personally not a fan of the casinos, especially since this is a family-based community. Palm Bay is primarily family-based homes, especially what we've seen being built. Um, I I again am partial because I work in aerospace and defense, but I feel like there's so many other opportunities that we can have locally, smaller businesses that bring in, art opportunities, creative opportunities. Most of us have to commute to Melbourne to go to a local theater event. I would hate to see us lose, the quality of life here in Palm Bay.
Mhm.
It's not to say you can't have big business here, but I also don't want us to lose the family feel of what Palm Bay has been. So,
Okay, got you, got you. Property values has been skyrocketing, bringing a bold surplus of revenue, not budge last year. What could you do to bring taxes down?
again, one of the ways of bringing and driving down taxes is to bring in opportunity, and that's in businesses. Those impact fees that so many local residents are paying would be distributed amongst a bunch of these organizations that want to build in the area. Um, Again, a majority of our taxpayers are on limited incomes. So, in order to ensure that they're not paying a significant amount, bringing in these organizations, these opportunities, just again removes a big chunk of taxes for the general living individual in Palm Bay.
Okay, we're just gonna take a couple more. We're getting up to the 9 o'clock hour, so let's see. Uh, one more. How do you plan to enforce sustainable business practices within the city of Palm Bay business, given that the business's demographic is primarily aerospace and healthcare?
So I think it's safe to say that a majority of organizations have a business practice to ensure sustainability. I think most organizations are trying to ensure that they're doing that internally. So I think when we're inviting these companies to come here, we want to ensure that they're doing just that within our community. We're going to have follow-ups and seeing how it is they're making these sustainable impacts. I think sometimes we assume as someone says, "Oh, we're a sustainable organization," but if there's no follow-up, if there's no double checking, if there's no review of what it is they're imparting and what they're trying to change, then that's where your biggest significant issue will lie. I think if they're not following what was agreed upon, that's when you start to consider fining. You start to hold them more accountable, because the last thing you want to do is continue to invite organizations that do not respect the community in. Um, going forward. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Tatiana, it's been a pleasure. I got to know you. I got to learn more about your platform and where you stand, and hopefully the community also learn more about you and where you stand. One of the things I do with my guests when they come on my platform is I give them the opportunity to do a closing remark. This is your opportunity to tell the audience why they should vote for you. Talk about where they can find you on social media and how they can donate to your campaign because it looks like you do need it
I
in order
absolutely need it. You're right.
in
So,
order to get your message out. So the platform is yours for the next 5 minutes. If you so choose to use all 5 minutes, it's totally up to you. And I
okay.
remove myself from the screen so you can begin that dialogue.
Well, first off, I want to thank you for having me tonight. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of the community. Um, my overall goal here is to make long-term change in Palm Bay, not quick solutions, which is typically what a lot of the changes in Palm Bay have been. We're typically we're typically behind the ball. We're always looking to repair versus addressing it prior to any issues. My goal in Palm Bay is to ensure long-term safety, obviously expanding and ensuring that we have the properly vetted police officers and fire stations, because we are short 7 police stations, 7 fire stations within our community. But I also want us to look at alternative methods to fund these type of organizations. I think it's also important that we consider our roadways. They've become a nuisance long before I ever considered running. We have seen the consistent repairs, the constant problems, and I think if we get ahead of it early and up front, especially with the current roadways that were just repaired about 4 years ago, and seeing how those problems have become if we rated them properly, they became like a middle grade roadway. So it's addressing all of those cumulative issues, as well as opportunities for community. So building a downtown area, building more community parks, having more opportunities for people to have outreach between us sitting on city council to them in their homes. I think organizations like advisory boards will help provide those opportunities, and giving them an opportunity and speaking in front of city council can truly help the members of Palm Bay feel heard and seen. I really do hope that you guys have responded really well to my answering of these questions. And one of the things I like to do is I like to ensure that I am accessible. And that's something I've addressed in every speech, every meeting I've ever had, is I want people to be able to reach out and touch me. I want you to be able to communicate effectively with me. I'm not a suit person. I'm simply someone in jeans and out in the community wanting you to be able to reach me. So if you go to my website, tatianarosado.com, right there, you can make a donation on Inidote. There's no minimum. I believe you can do up from $5 to $1,000. You're welcome to donate $1,000. I happily use that toward my campaign. But more importantly, I want your vote. I want you to trust me and believe that I will listen. I will address the concerns, and I'm not afraid to speak my mind and make true change in Palm Bay. I think it's easy for people to say that they can step into this role and do it, but I will tell you, day after day, it is a commitment, and it's a commitment I'm willing to make to my community because it helped build me. I come from a family of teachers who have taught in Brevard County for a number of years. I come from a soccer playing background where I played right out of Fred Poppy Park. So my biggest takeaway is I want to ensure you guys know I'm here. I'm here to make change. I'm here to listen, and I'm here to address the concerns in Palm Bay and make it better for our community. So yeah, that's what I got.
Okay. Awesome. 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 Thank you so much, audience. Thank you for your support tonight. I watched the numbers keep growing as we are talking. People are really intrigued by your campaign and what you have to say. And so I can't tell them how to vote, and I can't tell you how I'm going to vote because that will appear biased. But I do enjoy the conversation tonight, Tatiana, and I'm glad I was intrigued by what you had to. I can't say that enough. Was very intrigued by what you have to say and where you see your vision is for the city of Palm Bay. As we move forward, we will be interviewing Edith Rivera, and I think she's watching live. I see her commenting this Thursday, and we also be interviewing Ivan. Ms. Yvonne Minus, she's currently serving on the city of Melbourne, serving the city of Melbourne. And so I will be interviewing her. She's running for the commission seat for District 3. So it's going to be another packed interview day on Thursday night. So please join me, support me, and join me. It's starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Tatiana, again, thank you so much. Audience, thank you. Have a pleasant night. Have a great rest of the week. If I don't see you on Thursday, good night, Abe.
Thank you. Good night.